I'm going to try to just keep it down, not go on for hours and hours about what a lovely woman she is and what a great friend she is. And I thought I would just tell you, I mean, I've worked out just the other day that I've actually known her 30 years. And I've also known her children, her glorious children as well, for exactly the same length of time, because I met them when Barbara and we were at this alternative Jewish kind of festival in Leeds, and that was actually your birthday weekend that I realised was the actual anniversary of it, wasn't it, when I came to Shul? So, yes, and Barbara was there, and Jake wasn't 7, Leon was 7, and Rebecca and Jake were 4, and we just all bonded really, didn't we? And we've been friends ever since, and you know, we used to go up to Birmingham, and she schlepped me to various bits of the countryside around there from time to time when I was pregnant. And yes, my wee lad is here somewhere as well. Where is he? Oh yes, trying not to embarrass you. So, and he actually, when he left university, he worked for Barbara for a short time, well no, quite a long time, nearly a couple of years. And when I suggested to Barbara that perhaps Adam might like to go and work for her, she went, "Adam? I've known him since before he was born." And I said, "It's all right, you know, he's quite grown up now, I think he'll be all right." And anyway, so I don't know what else to say really, except that I'm really, really pleased to have had you in my life all these years, and I hope we've got many more years in each other's lives. So thank you.
So I'm going to continue the story, okay. Also back to 1988. The event was called Ruach, and it was billed as the gathering of the Alternative Jewish Network. It took place in May of that year at a place called the Beechwood Conference Center, which doesn't exist and hasn't existed for many years. But yes, we were all there. I can't remember if I knew you before that, Barbara. I think that was also the same for me. Yeah. I knew Gail already because everyone knows Gail, and Gail knows everybody, but I didn't know you yet, and Gail didn't know you yet, but we all met in the context of that amazing place, and we remember it well. I think we should eventually do something to celebrate it. I thought of that. I work here as a rabbi in this synagogue. That's interesting, and Barbara is now a member here, a congregant. So, they say in Latin, I can't remember. It's not o tempore o mores, it's something like that. Anyway, and it was 25 years, so it's a couple of years ago now. I guess it must have been 2013. And I met some people who came to an event here, and they had also been at Ruach in 1988. And we said, we really should do something. May 2013 is coming up. Well, anyway, now is 30 years, indeed, 30 years. And unfortunately, we didn't organize anything. But in a way, the fact that we're together and we're in this place, and Gail is where she is doing all of the same illustrious things as ever. I'm working here as a rabbi. I wasn't a rabbi in 1988, and I wasn't working as one or working as anything, really. And Barbara is here living nearby. Because the next part of my story, and that's the rest of it really, has to do with that fabled place, Birmingham. And I think we need to give some fond attention to the city of Birmingham now. So we were all at Leeds. Gail and I and some others lived here, right here in North London. But Barbara lived in Birmingham with her 3 children. Now, we had an adventure shortly afterwards in neither Birmingham nor London, but on the coast of Dorset. We called it 17 Go Mad in Dorset. And it was our alternative Christmas when we rented a farmhouse that had been a school, or something like that, a school that had been a farmhouse near Bridport. and we have many, many memories. Jake, who is here, has forgotten them all, but apparently his sister remembers very well when he fell into the sea and various other exciting things happened in December 1988. But then we returned to our various homes, but it so happened that many of us, yes, trekked up to Birmingham very regularly and got to know Birmingham, I think, very well, mainly through Barbara. Now, I had an aunt who lived in Arthur Road in Edgbaston, and in due course, Barbara moved to Odell Place, very nearby. So then I had a very special connection because I could stay with Barbara at Odell Place and walk over and see my aunt who has died in the meantime. So I no longer have those connections with Birmingham. And we were talking about it, some of us. Others of your friends from Birmingham have moved here and are present here and live here in North London. But I have a great sense of fondness when I think of Birmingham, and I think of Edgbaston, I think of your different houses, I think of my late aunt, Zichrona Livracha, was a very difficult person. Nevertheless, her memory is blessed. And Birmingham has now sort of moved out of my life. And it's lovely, though, that Barbara is now my sort of neighbor. We have twice run into each other on the street in the middle of Wood Green, which is a really lovely thing. Not because of Wood Green, I hasten to add. Wood Green is nothing special. If you don't know it, don't hasten down there to say, I want to see what the rabbi said was so lovely about this area. No, but it's very lovely in London. We have various, as you know, smaller centers, village centers, town centers. One, I guess, is Wood Green. And to get off the tube or get out of the bus, and then to run into somebody, your friend that you know. And that has happened with me and Barbara more than once at Wood Green. And of course, I see her here in this synagogue. Indeed, I see her here when I sit with my fellow rabbi, Shulamit Ambalu, and we sit at a big table here at a council meeting because Barbara is also a member now of the synagogue council. So that means she is now my employer. So,
you've got to be nice.
There you are. In the olden days, there we were at Ruach in Leeds, in the non-existent Beechwood Conference Center, and the world was very different in 1988, wasn't it? The world was very different. And here we are today, and many that we've known, sadly, are not here. They're no longer in this world with us. We have to remember them too. But we're here, and our lives have gone through all kinds of stages. New people have entered those lives and entered those families. Barbara is grandmother now, several times over. Where's Leon? Leon is father of 3 now. The most recent was born very recently. So many happy changes too. And I think it's a moment now to say the Shehechianu, which is our blessing for special occasions and new occasions as well. And it celebrates the idea of God as the creator. Okay, but it has 3 words in it, if you don't know, but I'm sure most of you do now. So the first word is Shehechianu, and that means who's kept us alive, who's maintained us in life. We're just acknowledging the wonderfulness of this moment. So Shehechianu kept us alive. The next one was Kimanu, who's kept us upright, basically. Helped us to be sustained to this moment. And the final one is Higianu, which means who has caused us to arrive at this moment in time. So that's all that we're saying, but it's a very special moment in time. We say Mazel Tov and happy birthday, and Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
I'd like to say a few words. Sort of turn it upside down a bit, really, because I see Barbara as my kind of feisty Jewish New Yorker friend. I'm her non-Jew friend, so it's a bit different. And I met Barbara, I think it was 1991, when I first came up to Birmingham. And it was at her, I think it was a birthday, and it was in a little restaurant at Selly Oak. And well, obviously we became friends, and I was working and living in Birmingham for quite a few years. And we sort of did things like Saturday mooches around stores and Rackhams to buy a navy blue jacket with polka dot lining. And Barbara's an amazing person, really, because she kind of comes on as tough, but actually she's a real softie. But she's got some determination. Yeah. And, you know, she's dedicated mum, professional lady, a go-getter, and she's my friend. And I think that's probably all I want to say.
So I'm one of the Birmingham contingent. We moved to Birmingham in 1979, right at the tail end, and I was pregnant. I had my baby in the January, and I didn't know a soul. And I walked, I don't know, I'm getting so upset, sorry about that. So I used to walk up to the shops and back, and one day this woman opened the door. She said, do you want to come to a coffee morning? And I thought, she can't be English. I mean, how many English people would open the door and just invite somebody in? And that was the NCT, and it was the saving of me, because it introduced me to all sorts of things. And it just shows, I think, the sort of person that Barbara is. She's not afraid to do anything, and she's got a heart of gold.
Sorry, I've got the piece of paper here. I think Bernadette said a lot that I feel as well. And I've known Barbara for the late 80s. I was at Robert's party. Since then we've done a lot of things together, but we were both the same age and single parents, and Barbara had, of course, had a lot more juggling than me with the little ones, you know, and they were her life at that time. But what stands out about Barbara is her kindness, generosity, and that smile. Positiveness and optimism, you know, keeps her going. I miss her calling into my house when we went shopping in Sainsbury's. We had our little chats, and Barbara was a great confidant. I mean, she still is, of course. She's honest and caring. Gosh, this is beginning to sound like a CV. Not meant to be. I felt sad about Barbara moving to London, but knew that this was what she wanted to do for a long time. And of course, I'm happy for her that she's achieved this. And I think she's done an awful lot in her 70 years, so there's a book there to be written sometime when you have time, Barbara. And Barbara and I both worked at Birmingham Settlement in the 1990s. And when Barbara went to work at Symphony Hall, we went to a great many great concerts together. Still remember them. I mean, that was something that she made sure, you know, shared with me. It is thanks to her that I managed this, you know, going to these concerts. And we shared her a 45th birthday celebration. And we also spent many New Year's Eves together. In April 2002, we flew to New York and back again together. Barbara went to visit relatives, and I went to visit my aunt. And I must say it was great that having Barbara to go back and forth with. Well, we spent a bit more time together. We did visit Ellis Island and Ground Zero, and also paid a visit to our friend Jessie. And Barbara even met Aunt Bridie, so that's another story. You remember the whole collab palaver. A few years later, we went to Paris together for a few days. And in spite of Barbara recovering from her leg operation, we managed to get round quite a bit. So there's great memories there. We must not forget Bernadette. Barbara, Bernadette and I shared quite a lot of times together. There's one thing I didn't mention about the Barbara, you know, when you're out with her there. She had a great sense of humour and an infectious laugh. And it's great to be sharing, you know, your 70th birthday celebrations. And thank you for your friendship, Barbara. And it has been nice to meet some more of your friends together.
I've only known Barbara for a short time. My first memories are of her pushing a pram built for two into the synagogue. I don't want to compete with everything that's said about her, but I would like us to celebrate Barbara's thirst for knowledge and her willingness to share with others the knowledge that she's acquired in her career in all sorts of fields. In fundraising, which is quite important in Jewish circles, but also in Jewish learning. And we're in the happy position, Loretta and I, of being able to share journeys to and from Limud in Birmingham, from North London, and Barbara makes a big sacrifice of getting herself into a taxi to be at our place at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday to set off to Birmingham. I know this is a big sacrifice. So thank you, Barbara, for everything that you've done for us in imparting your knowledge and sharing it with us.
Yeah.
One thing I take with me, I remember from many meals at Barbara's house for Shabbos, she was always determined, never skipped talking about 3 positive things that happened with us in our week that gone. And such small things that in many ways sort of symbol Barbara's her pursuit for finding positive, pursuit to never give up, and a pursuit to keep going and do what's necessary despite everything. That's
I met Barbara and David in 1979 queuing for vegetarian food at the Birmingham settlement. Is that right? Sure. When it was in Tower Street, I think. And we were the only 4 people queuing for vegetarian food. So we got chatting. And Barbara came from New York, so she was much more friendly than lots of other people, you know, that you might meet. And she told me that she was working in a boys' comprehensive school in Birmingham, Turves Green. And then she told me, and this was extraordinary, she told me that she told the students that she was Jewish. This was completely unheard of in my upbringing. You never told anybody you were Jewish until they kind of found out. It was sort of, it came out in conversation, but it was never the thing you said first. You knew, they probably knew, but you absolutely didn't say anything. I remember you telling me that when the kids made Jewish insults, you made Brummie insults back, and then you all got on really well. And I thought this was quite extraordinary. And then I think after you had Leon, so if Leon's 38.
38.
You're 38, that means I'm not 38, so I kind of work it out, you know, roughly from that. After, I think you contacted me after Leon was born, and we stayed in touch ever since then. Barbara and Rebecca very kindly came to an Edinburgh show of mine when you were the only 2 members of the audience. So they were the members of the audience, and I performed for them, and everybody's been incredibly supportive since then. And your potato salads and coleslaw are very much missed. Thank you.